Hola. Hola, peoples. I'm just getting up. I have crazy bedhead. I wanted to, I don't know why it's so red. I'm trying to get like a good prop. I don't know. Maybe if I face this way. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. I just want to make sure the audio is good. Anyway, I had to get right with that. Let's start. I mean, it's not really a how should I start. I just don't know what I want to start with. I guess a proper introduction would be good. Greetings, welcome back. I don't try to make these videos forcefully. Anytime like I think like, oh, you know, I think it's time to make one of those videos, or like I want to make one of those videos, I kind of want to stray against it anytime I get the thought of wanting to do the idea, because like, I don't know, for me it's like the more I think about something, you know, I have a tendency to self-doubt a lot. And so anytime I think about stuff, I start to contradict my original point of view. And it causes me to kind of fuck up, because it's just like, damn, you know, if you wouldn't have done that, you'd have been good. And so basically what I'm trying to say with that is going into this book that I've been reading. Let me reiterate, because I technically did steal it, but I didn't intentionally steal it. The dude that I was going to give it back from, I asked him if I could borrow the book to read it while I was at the psych ward. And within the time that I was reading it, I had forgot that I still had the book. But as well, it was time for me to leave. So I had the book in my bag the whole time, like in one of my, and it wasn't even like my cert, like we couldn't even get bags in there. It was a paper bag that you just kept stuff that you know what I'm saying, because you had to put it in there. You couldn't have it out. I don't know, it was a rule or whatever. So yeah, I just put it in the bag. Not gonna lie, I forgot about it. I forgot about it. Came home, was like, damn, shit, my boy, like, I'm sorry. That's a good ass book too. Like, I would have gave it back to you if I remembered. But at the same time, I'm glad that I got to, you know what I'm saying, keep it, because I like this book a lot. It has taught me a lot of things. You know, it has taught me not even just like things. Like, I don't even want to say things. I don't like the way I speak sometimes, because my brain moves too fast. I speak too fast. So it's like, what it sounds like, essentially, the best way I could compare it is like a hyper train going on its usual scheduled trip, and then it just derails. You know, that's what it's like in my brain, i.e. when I start to stutter, or like when I'm talking and then my point views don't necessarily connect together or sound comprehensible. So I feel like one of the things that I really want to work on more, you know, like one of those things I've been kind of hyper mindful about I'm like aware about it. It's just articulating my speech. And it's not necessarily ever been a big problem for me, but I just want to do it better, as well as like a couple other things in my life. And this book, essentially, I finished reading this one chapter literally like a couple minutes ago. And it was basically, the chapter was about your subconscious, your shadow. And it was basically teaching how to, I guess, how to like, what's the right word? The word I'm going to choose is apologize to it. Because I feel like most people, especially people who are already kind of knowledgeable in these psychological, philosophical, mental field. And so I feel like most of those who understand what the shadow is understand that it's a repressed version of you. You know, the things that you do when subconsciously, you know, for example, do you beat your own heart? You don't think about beating your heart, but it beats and it keeps you alive. So you don't even think about. I really hope it didn't cut off, because I would hate to have to restart. Actually, if I have to restart this whole thing, I'm just going to write down everything I said and I'm going to re-go back to it and put, I don't even know. Shit. Fuck, what was I saying? My fault. Like, I just got thrown off. Somebody called me. It low-key pissed me off. I don't know. I don't like what I'm doing. Maybe I should turn my phone on Do Not Disturb. Maybe that's why. Oh, there we go. That kind of proved what I was saying. You know, that little kind of outburst I had about someone calling me while I was in the middle of a video, they have no control over that. They didn't know that I'd be making a video at this moment. You know, I know I don't like when people call me when I'm doing certain things. I'm aware of the fact that, you know, I don't like that. Yet it still made me a little angry. So if it's a thing where it's like I'm aware of it, then why interpret it that way? Basically what I'm trying to say is, or not even what I'm trying to say, I don't even know what I'm trying to say with that. See, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of just threw my whole thought process off, because it's one of those things I don't like. Like, it's an interruption. I don't like interruptions. I'm very big on the interruptions. I don't like interruptions. Anyway, basically what I was trying to say about this and the shadow and apologizing to it is, most people, they perceive the shadow as like, you know, a way to understand yourself. And yes, it is a way to understand yourself. But that's all they look at it like. Is, you know, you grow up and you have these subconscious tendencies that you do and whatnot, and you think, oh, well, you know, that's because of this, or, you know, this trauma that I had in my life is what causes me to be that way. And it's like, okay, that's cool. You recognize where those unrepressed emotions come from. But I don't think a lot of people realize that in which the way these repressed emotions show themselves is kind of like I want to say like kind of like an emotionally angry kid. And the reason why I say emotionally angry is because as a kid, anytime I got angry about something, my anger as a kid, I define anger as a kid differently than when you're angry as an adult. Because I feel like when you're angry as a kid, that anger lacks the malice and the intent that you have when you're angry as an adult. And let me be more clarifying. Without anything behind that anger, what might be causing it. And that's what I mean. Just like, just say your mom does something as a kid that made you upset. You know, it made you upset because of how it affected you, not, you know, what you were thinking about that is what made you mad. No, whatever happened didn't make you mad. It was the cause that reacted with you that then caused you to be upset, opposed to me being a grown man and I can think about something that then made me angry in my own right. Well, it's like, you thought about it. And if you decide to get upset at it, that's on you. But compared to a kid, they don't, it's quite opposite, in a way. I say this a lot, and it kind of reminds me of myself, not self, but it kind of reminds me of my infantilization video, or it's like I would, kind of talk about how I felt like a kid. People would treat me like a kid. And during, like, when I was talking about that in that video, I didn't necessarily like specify how it made me feel. I just brought up, or I may have, and I just don't remember because I haven't watched that video. I'm not gonna lie. Anytime I make these, I just kind of throw them up, and I let them sit there. I let them sit there because my motive and the way I'm not, I'm not following no algorithm. I'm not. Nah. If you're meant to receive these, you're meant to receive these. These will come to you in times where you need information, or you might come across it and be interested and realize, like, damn, he got a kind of interesting perspective on this. I might, it's just one of them things. I'm not inherently looking for anything out of this. I'm putting this here for people to look for. That's, I don't know, that's how I think of it. But anyway, going back to that anger as a kid, that's kind of what that's how the subconscious responds. It's not necessarily, and if anything, it does do the thinking, and it rightfully has every reason to think about how it's being treated and being mad as a retaliation. Because if you think about it, the way we have built society as a whole is to live in front of these masks that we put on. We're supposed to take everything about us, split it, and then sort through, take away everything that people don't like, and only keep the things that are acceptable. Whatever form or shape your mask makes, that's what you have to wear. And what happens is that's using energy. Everything you do in your daily life uses energy. That's why you have to rest at the end of the day. If you weren't using energy, you would never have to sleep. But unfortunately, you have to recharge at some point in time. So that's why even when you stay in your house and you sit in your bed being bored all day doing absolutely nothing, and you think to yourself, how can I still be tired after not doing anything? You being there, being bored all day, you being bored was using energy. You sitting there thinking about how doing nothing is so boring, you were using energy thinking about how doing nothing was boring. So you were in fact doing something by doing nothing. And no matter how much energy you use, to an extent, your body needs it back. Therefore, the rest part, the recharge. And so, putting this mask on, especially, I feel like the biggest group of people that this could really, hit home to is teenagers, people in school still. I feel like it has an effect, and everyone could understand and grasp the concept of what I'm saying to some degree, but I feel like it doesn't have any effect as much as children who are in school. Because I feel like school is the biggest social experiment out of all. You're in a confined space for multiple hours, and I mean multiple. I don't mean multiple as in 3, 4. No, I mean multiple as in 5, 6 hours a day. That's a good majority of your life. We'll say 6 times 7. That's 40. That's 40 hours a week. You're basically working. When you're going to school for 12 years, 365 days, 12. I don't know how much that is. If I were to give a random guess, let's take out the 365, 12, 300, 312. I don't know how much that would be. That would probably be 24, another 12 on top of that, 36, 12, 64, 364, 64, 64, 128, another 64. Would it be 128, 164, 8, 12, 120, okay, 6, 12, 1, 9, 2, no, yes, not yes. So it'd be 109. So that 109 plus like, what was it, 30, 36? I don't know. It would be around like 36,000 or 3600,000. I don't know. Exactly. That's my estimate. I'm not too good at math, but I don't care because, you know, it's not even my fault that I'm not good at math. The school system sucks. And it is my fault partly because I didn't choose to engage in it. But at the same time, I couldn't. It was it felt like it was against me, and I don't know the type of person I am. I just don't mess with that. If you're not gonna try with me, I'm not gonna try with you. So that's just kind of how I felt in the school system. I may have been the problem in my own right, but I wasn't just the problem. And so I feel like their abandonment in me made way for the abandonment and my motivation for my academics. And looking back at that now, I actually am upset about it because I was talking to my sister the other day, and being a kid, of course, you don't want to do shit, you don't want to do math, none of that. But you'll realize it is very important in your life. And I do look back at it now and kind of regret the fact that I didn't take school a little more seriously than I initially did. But, that just means that any future academics I'll take much more seriously than I did in the past because I know now. But I like the fact that I jump around so much in my topics. I don't know. I just can't never keep a straight, what I'm saying, on what I'm talking about. But anyway, going back to the subconscious, I just feel like, to kind of summarize what I'm saying, I feel as instead of really trying to understand it, or even just this, let me just say, instead of just trying to understand it, I feel like we should all take time to, apologize to ourselves, like really apologize to ourselves, because that's really what that is it's we put these masks on that repress our true selves, and our true selves are angry, and they're only angry because in a way it's like a child getting neglected. Children, they get upset or angry if you show more attention to one child opposed to the other. That child starts to feel some type of way, and that's where those things come from. Trauma, yes. The reason why I said you can know what causes the behaviors, like your trauma that's causing your repressed behaviors, but that's not solving anything if you're not doing anything about stopping those repressed behaviors. Knowing everybody has trauma, everybody can go back to, every woman could go back to the memory that they had that caused them to hate men for the rest of their lives. Every woman or man can go recall the memory of the traumatic experience that made them gay or some type of way. But that's not solving anything. It's not answering any questions or asking any newer ones. And I feel like people lack that nowadays. It's just that they're just kind of yes men. I don't know, like that's the best way I could describe it, where they're just like, yep, we're going with it. I don't know. I rarely find people who stop, or I rarely ever find people who stop and question the things around them, even themselves. Like, you have to be able to stop and question what you're doing, because I feel like in a way, it helps you take a I don't know, like a proofread or like a second glance at what's going on. And I feel like anytime you go back on something, you know, humans are we're uh we're general harvesting organisms. We operate on the fact that we can recognize patterns. Patterns is information. We store information. We can store patterns so easily in our brain because of it. Like our brain is meant to recognize stuff like that and take those recognizations and store them for future use. That's why it's so easy to, be able to look at your room and then go into an empty room and recognize your room in it. Because we know what a dresser is. We know the use of a dresser. It belongs in a room to store clothes. So now anytime you go into a room, you're instantly going to think a dresser belongs in here. If you go into a room without a dresser, one thing you're going to notice, you're going to be like, yo, where's your dresser at? Yeah, I see you don't have a dresser. You don't store your clothes. You might think, oh, do you store your clothes in the closet? Because I don't think, you don't have a dresser. But the first thing you're going to think is, where's the dresser? Because your brain is programmed in your everyday environment to associate that environment with that response, and that response being the brain telling you, oh, there's no dresser there when there should be. And so that's essentially what I mean about like the brain being like a general harvest, like a general informational not harvesting, but storage system, where you know our we literally operate on our brain feels better getting, like, it releases dopamines and stuff when we're more proficient in our patterns, our problem solving and pattern recognition. When the brain can make something easier after experiencing that pattern and become more efficient at it, it I don't know. I don't know the science behind what I'm talking about, or at least too far to talk about past what I'm talking about now. But basically, what I'm trying to say with that is, you know, the subconscious works the same way. It's in your brain. It shares the same, it lives in the same space. It shares the same area, even if you don't think it does. So therefore, it's going to behave the same. The rules that it operates by are going to apply the same to you, to your conscious or unconscious. It's in the same place, so it has to play. When you play basketball, you may be on a different team, but you have to play by the same rules. It works the same way. So, you know, whether your conscious be a entity of its own, you know, some sort of version of you that learned to completely disassimilate itself, sort of like how atoms split into two and mitochondria. What if our subconscious does that in like an astral level? I don't know. But yeah, no, it does the same thing. It recognizes that, you're repressing itself. You're repressing yourself. It's another version of you, and it's being angry at the fact that you're not being true to yourself. And it just wants you to realize that, you're still there. You're still how you were as a kid. Those things that you enjoyed when you were a kid, they're still there. They're still inside of you. Whatever may have happened to your life for you to have buried that up, go to that grave, go to that tombstone where you have that piece that you don't want to look back on, and dig it up. Dig it up and reflect on it. That's the only way. That's the only way you're going to find what you're looking for and solve those kind of issues in your life, is you just face them. I feel feel like that's the most cliche advice I could give after my whole tangent about nothing and unstructuredness. But it's just like, no matter what you seek to find out of, this phase that we're experiencing, one thing, no matter how complex it gets, no matter how, crazy shit looks like it is, and how in depth we've gotten as a society from sticks and stones and fire, we're all the same thing on a simple level. Going down the ladder, all the way down to that last step, we're the same. And so, you know what I'm saying? Just like, no matter how complicated you make math, the number line is the simplest part of it. And sometimes the simplest things go the farthest. We're complex micro beings that play a part in multiversal ecosystems. A cell plays a part in our body's ecosystem, but it doesn't know that it exists. It just plays its role. We're playing our role in our ecosystem for a much bigger ecosystem, and we don't even know it. We're just playing our role. And I feel like that, that's kind of in comparison to some of the simple things that you could say in life that people just kind of think like, oh, that's all you can give me. Yeah, maybe that's all you need. Maybe you're just not thinking about it the way you need to think about it. Maybe you do just need that simple advice, and you just need that simple advice, and you need to simply use it. I don't know what much more to say, but sometimes the overcomplexity, is that how you say that word? I'm not sure. As great as it may be to find answers that we may never find that lay in our vast objective and unobjective reality, the only thing that you can, I guess, go with is the fact that you're simply in here. I don't know. That's the best way I could put it. I don't even know what I was saying, but yeah. Sometimes the simple things is all you need. Sometimes all you need to do is just simply look at what made you mad. What made you feel like that. Sometimes you may have to do it more than once. But I don't know. We tend to overcompensate in our lives on this. Don't need to. I don't know. Anyway, that's me. I'm done. I'm done talking about whatever the fuck I'm talking about. Probably didn't make a lot of sense, but that's okay. Because anything that doesn't make sense, anything that's deemed chaos, is just an unfiltered version of what makes sense. That's all. So if you don't ever feel bad or ashamed about yourself, because all you need one day is for time to make it unchaotic and make it make sense. One day in time, you're gonna come across something that adds that extra layer of Ah, so that's how I could explain that better. Ah, that's how that makes much better sense, you know? So don't stress too much about if in the now things aren't how it's supposed to be or whatever your outlook on it may be. Just know it will work, even if it's not working right now. It will work.